doom scrolling Google, TikTok, and Instagram for hours looking at wedding venues in Tuscany, be honest, and you're just trying to find a pretty one that's the right bang for your buck, I bet you're also worried about picking the wrong one and finding out the hard way you've grossly overpaid for your venue. Fear not, because I've been around the block, and Tuscany is one of the most popular markets we plan weddings in. So I did a little digging and pulled out the most cost-effective and, in my opinion, highest bang for your buck venues in Tuscany. But first, hello, I'm Kay. I'm a destination wedding planner helping couples plan untraditional multi-day intimate destination weddings abroad on a budget. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to be notified every time I post another video with more destination wedding planning advice. One of the greatest things about Tuscany is there are so many amazing venues to get married at. Most of them tucked between rolling hills and vineyards and mountains. They typically also offer a substantial amount of accommodations for your guests right on site. So you can have that vision of having all of your guests stay in one place for the whole weekend and your wedding events are happening right there on the property. Those are the types of venues we are going over today. Not hotels, not one-day venue rentals that don't have any accommodations, specifically venues in Tuscany that have accommodations that are absolutely beautiful and some of the cheapest ones out there. Before we get into these numbers, I am not talking today about Airbnbs or Verbos. Why? If you're having an international destination wedding with a full-on event, a ceremony, a caterer's coming, rentals are coming, flowers are coming, lighting is coming, you do not want to be doing that at an Airbnb. You want to be doing that at an established venue that has a venue coordinator, also known as a site manager, on site to be there specifically for your event. Because they're gonna manage the parking, the permits, the delivery, all of those things. If you're getting married and trying to piece this together on your own at a random Airbnb that charges $1,000 a night, it's gonna be a big headache. I need you to trust me on this. So what I'm showing you today are legit wedding venues. We need to start with a frame of reference because cheap is relative. So what are we typically seeing for the cost of venues on average in Tuscany? For some of the most beautiful properties in Tuscany, it's definitely over $10,000 a night. Just recently, we've spent between $11,000 and $15,000 per night for some of the most luxurious accommodations and wedding facilities in Tuscany. But if you're approaching wedding planning on a serious budget, we can't spend that much on a venue. So I'm gonna show you the alternative options that are all well below $10,000 a night. I will also link the websites of all the properties that I'm going to talk about in the description below. Also important to note before we dive in today that all of the costs I'm going to share with you are in US dollars and all of the rates I'm going to share with you are in venues in high season. High season pricing is generally higher on average by about $5,000 total. And these are weddings that happen between the months of May and September. So just note, if you absolutely love a venue I'm talking about today, but it's still slightly out of your budget, try getting married there in April or October. You might save about $5,000. Let's start. The first venue we're gonna start with is one of my absolute favorites. It's Castello del Trebbio. It is a charming little farmhouse and castle smack dab in the heart of the Chianti Rufino wine region, so it's a really great location. It's also just 30 minutes from Florence, which I think makes this venue so much more popular than some of the other venues that are kind of more in the middle of nowhere. Your guests really don't have to travel far at all to get to the venue, and if you wanna have day trips and city walking tours and food tours within Florence as part of your multi-day weekend, you can still do that with this venue. The castle on site actually dates back to the 12th century, so really historic, really well preserved, and today it's actually a working vineyard. This property sleeps 51 guests overnight in accommodations throughout the property. In US dollars, based on the current exchange rate, it's about $6,300 per night, which is a really, really great deal considering how many people can sleep there and the beauty of the property itself. What's the caveat? It books out so far in advance. So if you're interested in this property, email them right away. The next property that is really reasonably priced is Abbazia San Faustino. This property was actually completed by the Benedictines in the 1200s. Today, it's now refurbished into a luxury country house, so really comfortable accommodations. It is technically in Umbria. I know that's not Tuscany, but it's the neighboring region. It's the same vibe. And Umbria has great truffle hunting, so maybe you throw that in as part of your weekend activities. It is over 2 hours from Florence, so definitely a bit of a hike if your people are flying into the Florence International Airport. This property sleeps 54, so very similar to the first one that we just talked about. And with the exchange rate right now, the price in US dollars is only $4,400 per night. They do have a $1,100 event rental fee on top of that. Still, it's actually cheaper than Trebbio. There's a pool, there's sweeping views of rolling hills where you get to eat dinner in the garden. I think it's a beautiful option at a wonderful price point. The next one, I'm just gonna apologize for my accent right away. Villa Carignano. Carignano. This property is a 17th century villa. It is in the Chianti countryside. And this one is an hour south of Florence, but still accessible if you wanted to, do like a day trip up there. The rooms all have really wonderful views of the rolling hills or the Italian gardens on site. So it's a really great property. This venue sleeps 30, so less guests than the original two that I showed you. And the price is around $6,800 per night. They also have a $2,300 event rental fee on top of that. So all in all, it is the most expensive option I've showed you so far, but definitely well below that average I shared in the beginning. The caveat of this one, they book out really far in advance too, similar to Trebbio. So if you're interested in this one, the sooner the better. Let's go to our next one. It's Casa Cornacchi. This one is a country house estate in the smack dab center of Tuscany. Close to Siena, so it's an hour south of Florence. Again, Florence is still within reach if you wanted to bring that in as part of the guest experience. This one, the original construction dates back to the 1500s, so really cool old architecture, really well preserved. Gorgeous grounds, got a pool, it's awesome. This property sleeps 60, so the highest guest count that can be accommodated so far, and it's around 7,800 per night. For the quality of this property and split across 60 people, that is a really good deal. Quick break, if you're liking any of these options so far, hit that like button right now. Next up, I love the name of this one. It's so cute. It's Lazy Olive. This is a country villa and farm-to-table restaurant. A little bit farther south, it's an hour and a half from Florence. When you enter the property, you're driving along this cypress tree driveway, and there's a historical site on the property that was originally discovered in the year 1200. So if you're into history, all of these have been really cool and historical so far, but that is like really cool. This property is smaller. It only sleeps 22 guests. So I included it because once you see the price, it's still well below the average of what you'll see out there. But this property itself, I would put it in the luxury category as far as the quality of the accommodations and the beauty of the property itself. It is $6,500 per night, so not bad. And you can still have a wedding of 50, 60 people, however much you want to go up to, and they can stay in a hotel down the street or an Airbnb's nearby just fine. Let's talk about the next one. It's La Conda. This one actually is a resort. So it's a luxury country resort. A little bit different from the other properties. 2 hours south of Florence, so we definitely have to really leave the city. We're making a commitment to leave the city on this one. The rooms though, stunning. Chef's kiss. Stunning. They also have a lot going on site because they're a resort, so there's cooking classes right there. They have an outdoor fire pit, all that fun stuff. Just a really gorgeous property. You're definitely getting the luxury experience at this property for a lot less. So if you still want to have something that's really, really nice, but you want to spend well below the average that I see when I'm working with venues out there, this would be it. This property sleeps 18 and is $7,700 per night. So again, the rest of your guests can stay in nearby accommodations off property. The next one, I love this one. I've been telling people about this venue for years. We're working there with a client now. They are incredible. It's Castello di Bibbione. It is a castle in the heart of the Chianti wine region. This one, similar to Trebbio, just 30 minutes outside of Florence. So you're getting that city feel, but kind of removed in a quieter area for your wedding events, but you can still access all the fun stuff in Florence really easily for your wedding weekend. Beautiful location too. It's got panoramic views of rolling hills and vineyards and olive trees. It's a really, really great location. So it can sleep between 50 and 60 people, depending on if you're doing like couches and rollaway beds. And you guys, it is only $3,500 US a night. There is, however, a $2,800 event fee, and you have to pay that per event. So if you're doing something the night before, the day of, and the day after, you would have to pay that for each event that you're hosting there. But it's still way cheaper than the other venues that we see in this area. Now, this one, I highly recommend that you book in mid-season, so like April or October rather than in the middle of the summer. Because actually in the middle of the summer for this venue, they do require that you book it for 7 nights. So that $3,500 gets times by 7. That can blow up your wedding budget really quickly, especially if you just wanted to stay there for like 3 nights. So that's the caveat to Bibione, maybe getting married there in the mid-season instead, so you can still get all of the amazing benefits of the property. It's gorgeous, the stunning views, without having to times that nightly rate by 7. Okay, if any of these venues intrigued you, this is just the start. Before you leave here and throw money at these venues immediately, you need to make a total budget estimate for yourself to make sure that your expectations are realistic. It's not just the cost of these venues. You're gonna have the cost of everything else for your wedding, your photographer, videographer, hair and makeup, rental, stationery, decor, lighting. So we wanna make sure that what you're gonna spend in total is super realistic. To do that, download my guide to estimate the cost of your destination wedding before booking a venue. That link is below. Don't forget to subscribe to get more help planning your destination wedding. And comment below if you've encountered any other venues in Tuscany that are similar to price as these or even cheaper. We want to hear them. We can do a whole part 2. So comment all of your good findings below as well. Bye!